Hey kids, week 5 is in the books and it's time for another episode of Upon Further Review. I'm AJ Bellino.
I'm Diego Del Barco.
And we're going to go through what went wrong in New York, what went right in New York.
Yeah, some stuff.
Get into what we liked, what we didn't, what we saw, what we may have missed, and who we like going into this week's game against the Baltimore Ravens. In any case, thanks so much for joining us, and here we go.
Let's go.
Well, all right, we're going to start with what went wrong in New York this last Sunday night. What'd you see, man?
If we're going to just slim it down, coaching for me was what went wrong. We can talk about, defensive scheme and how that made it fail. But then again, what's the scheme? What was the execution? You don't know. And we can break down all things. For me, though, you played a pretty complete football game, a competitive game all the way till the end. And then in the nitty-gritty, coaching decisions just kind of drove me nuts. When the Niners were down, basically inside the 5 with about 2 minutes left, about to score either a field goal or a touchdown, I didn't want to pass the ball at all because the Giants were in this conundrum where, like, do we call timeouts? Do we not call timeouts? Like, how do we defend? Because they're up, they're up 3 and they're not trying to. So you were pretty confident that you were going to score, but you also wanted to kill time and not leave enough time for them to go on the other end and actually score. And what you did is you call the pass play that resulted in a penalty. That was great. And then you call another pass play that almost got picked. And in the process, left about 40 to 50 more seconds for the Giants, who then went ahead and got a game-winning score with 20 seconds left on the clock. So if they had just committed to run the ball at that moment, whether they got it or not, and just get the field goal and tie the game with about a minute left and maybe a couple of timeouts burned, maybe would have gotten a better result.
All right, no, I think that's fair.
It drove me nuts. It really did.
I think it's fair. I don't think it was what was wrong, though. What was wrong to me, you could boil it down to 3 guys. And those 3 guys are...
Wait, can I guess one?
Yes.
Marcus Martin.
Actually, surprise!
Oh, okay.
No. My 3 culprits for this game are Dorsey, Dial, and Williams.
Oh.
And I want to say the stat was 78. 78 opportunities to rush the passer. They got a pressure twice.
Oof.
That is unfreaking real. It's inexcusable. Now, the fact of the matter is on that last drive, everybody's yammering about how the coverage fell apart. Well, the coverage was soft zone, but it's soft zone for a reason. That's one component of a 2-component defense. You have coverage and you have pressure. Pressure wasn't getting there. It wasn't getting there at all. The only guy that effectively forced Eli Manning to move off of his spot and deliver the ball in a way he was uncomfortable doing was Aaron Lynch. Lemonnier wasn't getting there. Harold wasn't getting there. Blitzers from the secondary weren't getting there. And the big uglies up front were not displacing the Giants' offensive line at all. You want to talk about 500 yards passing? Welcome to the jungle, kids. It starts up front. End to end, outside linebacker to outside linebacker. You want my number 1 culprit for why this game went sideways? Simple freaking math, boys and girls. The D-line did not deliver. All right, so we broke down what went wrong.
Yeah.
But, the 49ers were in this game up until 25 seconds left to play. So let's talk about what went right, because obviously something had to go right.
Yeah.
What'd you see?
A few things. It's funny because I was going to go into this with a thought, but then I just heard you talk about the defense. And I thought actually it doesn't seem like it, but I thought the defense was something right in this game. And again, I go back to a competitive game that towards the end was anybody's ball game. And what did the defense do? The defense gave the offense, which again we didn't have a lot of faith on, but he gave the offense an opportunity to win this game. They did so by basically playing a chess matchup with Eli Manning on 3rd and 7 near the goal line. They basically told him, look, you want to pass the ball, by all means, we're taking out our linebackers, we're putting in all defensive backs, and Eli Manning got cocky and decided to run the ball on 3rd and 6. What that did was get his lineman to open up a big, nice lane for Shane Vereen to go get the first down and potentially the score. But Jimmy Ward came through in the clutch and actually tackled Vereen a yard before the first down marker, forcing the Giants to then kick a field goal, which then allowed the Niners about 4.5 minutes to produce the potential to produce a game-winning drive, which they actually did. It's just a little bit of mismanagement at the end didn't really work out. But I thought the defense at that moment, at a big pressure moment, came through.
Sure. No, and I can't disagree with you. I thought that series, they did show up. But what went right for me is, I got to point this out because this has been going wrong all year. What went right for me was the offensive line. Now, I'm not saying that every single offensive lineman had a great game, but you know what I am saying? We got a new face this week. Somebody showed up, elevated from the practice squad, and played awesome. His name was Andrew Tiller. And you need to remember that name, fans, because guess what? If we have a shot at winning next week, he needs to see more than half the snaps. When he was in, there was no pressure from his side. When he was run blocking, he was getting to the second level. When he was pass blocking, he wasn't 2 yards in the backfield before he gained any traction. The guy played a competent right guard, and that's really what you got to ask for.
Mm-hmm.
He was competent. Now, we haven't had competent right guard play all season long. Now, when I talk about what went right, a lot of those throws that Kaepernick made this last week, what was there a significant absence of? Pressure. He didn't have anybody in his face. He wasn't seeing ghosts. He wasn't wasting any movement with his feet. And all of that had everything to do with his confidence and his protection up front. Kids, I'm telling you, if Tiller gets more playing time, I'm confident that protection will improve, and that is going to lead to great things for the offense.
I'm glad you brought up, Andrew Tiller, against Jordan Devey, because actually that's something we want to discuss a little bit more. There was there was a noticeable difference the moment that Tiller came into the game. It just right away, both in running and passing game. In the running game, he was getting forward. He was actually getting up to the second level quickly. In the passing game, he was actually holding on, not actual holding people, but basically holding his ground and giving, as you pointed out, Kaepernick the time to throw. And I think at the end of the game, they basically ended up, I know it wasn't planned necessarily that way, but it came out perfect. They each got the same number of snaps. I think it was 34 each. And it may be a little bit irresponsible to just kind of compare based on a small sample size for Tiller compared to what DB has done. But then again, DB hasn't really shown you anything. And they were given basically a fair share of opportunities to show which one could help this team going forward. And again, it's just a little sample size, but it's pretty obvious to me, not just watching the game, but then reviewing the stats and whatnot, that Tiller gives his team a better chance to have an effective offense, which we saw a little bit of on Sunday night going forward. And so I just would like to see them move away from the project of splitting reps and whatnot, and just give the kid, the chance going forward.
And look, and I agree with you 100%, but I'm going to be a little more emphatic about it. Okay, Jordan Devey has had his opportunity to play. He passes the eye test. Big guy, real strong. Played on a world championship team and actually saw some snaps there, believe it or not. But
not they were good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, but now, his only imitation that he's really done as a 49er is that of a revolving door. This guy couldn't block a psycho on Twitter. So I'm wondering how he's supposed to get in front of a top-flight 3-4 defensive lineman. How's that going to happen? The fact of the matter is, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. He's had the opportunity to do it. He's had multiple. He didn't have any competition. They basically handed him the job. Here you go. Make it happen, because heaven knows Silberman's not going to get it.
No.
So he goes out there and gets lit up like a freaking Christmas tree. Tiller comes out.
For 4 weeks.
Right.
For 4 weeks.
But with little fanfare, Tiller goes out, doesn't thump his chest, doesn't dance around, doesn't do anything stupid. He goes out there with his freaking workman hat on, carrying his freaking lunch pail, goes to work and digs in the trenches. And that's my kind of guy. The guy might not be an all-pro. He might not be a Pro Bowler. He may just be passable. But guess what? Right now, passable beats the living daylights at a revolving door.
He outplayed Dewey.
He did. Him. He did. Bingo. There you go. He's got to get the start.
And he's got to get the shot. Absolutely.
Okay, so we've run through the good, the bad, the ugly, what we think needs to change. Let's talk, the 49ers are 1-4. There obviously hasn't been a whole lot to cheer about, but we decided to lighten the mood a little bit.
Yes.
We're going to talk about our bright spot.
We are Niner fans after all, right?
We are.
Yes, we are.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
Most of the time. So we're going to talk about our bright spot through the season's first 5 games. Diego, what do you got?
I'm going to get semi-lazy on this one, and I'm going to, being a big Frank Gore fan, was kind of having my doubts about this whole running back process and how we were going to go about it. Carlos Hyde, I knew he was a stud. I just didn't know how he was going to perform. He's really, really good. I mean, take the fact that he's running like Gore was against stacked boxes behind a line that basically 3/5 of it is ineffective in run blocking. He's not getting you the yardage per game that you would like out of a running back. He's only giving you about 75. I think we all know why. But if you look at his yards per rush, 4.5. I think it's 4.52. That's outstanding for a running back in the NFL.
Sure.
I mean, your Adrian Peterson and whatnot, they might get you to 5, but I mean, 4.52 behind with the deficiencies that they present him with, that's outstanding for a running back, and he is the key for this offense to get going. If you were running Mike Davis or somebody else out there, it would be worse than what we've seen so far. So he's my bright spot if I'm just looking on the offensive side.
Of course, you got to tip your cap too to his elusiveness, his ability to make tacklers miss,
cutback
for a man
ability,
his size. It's a beautiful thing.
He's got a lot of Gore traits: vision, patience, and the cutback ability is way better than Gore's. But
yeah, and that's something that I think none of us were really expecting while coming into the season. That's great news.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go a different direction with my bright spot, and my bright spot hasn't seen the field very much. Don't freaking ask me why. So my bright spot for this season is Eric Armstead.
So far.
And a lot of you people are going to say, Eric Armstead? You mean that schlep that none of us knew who he was when Balky drafted him? And by the way, F Balky? Look, Balky's gotten a boatload of crap for signing free agents who haven't made an impact. For the 2012 draft class, for swinging and missing on high-profile picks like A.J. Jenkins and LaMichael James. And look, rightly so. He deserves that flack because he's the guy who pulled the trigger, and that's where it went. Well, kids, he picked himself a winner in Eric Armstead. His justification was really simple. Pure 4 techniques are almost impossible to find. And that's exactly what he has found. And I'm going to give you a stat, and here it is. Every single time that Eric Armstead has been on the field for the 49ers in a passing situation, he has achieved a hurry, a pressure, or made a direct impact on the play. I want you to think about that for a minute. 100% of the time, when he's on the field, bad things happen to the offense. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a bright spot.
I would say that.
So bright that I think that it's probably time for Dorsey to see the bench and for Armstead to get a lot more playing time. There are people who will argue that maybe he's not going to be as stout at the point on the run, or perhaps he doesn't have his footwork down just yet, or maybe he doesn't know the defense all that well. Talent is talent. You get this kid with his hand in the dirt and tell him what he needs to do, lights out, sweetheart. This guy is going to be a highlight reel guy generator for a really long time.
Okay. All right, so enough of that. Let's get to Baltimore game. Let's get to prediction time. It's really difficult to just predict NFL games nowadays, especially when it comes to Niners, because week to week you just really don't know what you're gonna get. So the Baltimore Ravens come in this week. They're coming off. I mean, they don't. Are they also 1-4?
Yeah,
they are, and they lost last week to the Cleveland Browns at home in overtime, where Josh McCown, I believe, threw for like 700 yards or something like that. I know there's the whole aspect of John Harbaugh and coming back and his brother and yada yada yada. I think if we're gonna win one game, it's gonna be this one. And I think also just the fact that their pass defense, now that they lost Terrell Suggs, just isn't the same. They're not able to apply the same amount of pressure, which is really exposing their secondary. And to start banking a little bit on the Kaepernick will follow up on that progress he showed last week. It's gonna have to be sort of a high scoring game, maybe upper 20s. But I think the Niners are going to pull this off. I believe the line is 2.5 for Baltimore.
The line is 2.5.
So I'll give me the Niners 27-24.
Okay, Niners 27-24. Well, I have come out and stated that I will not pick the 49ers to win a road game for the rest of the year. So the coaching staff shows me you can get it together on the road. They kind of showed me that in New York. Now, this isn't a road game. And there are a few things that I think really play in the 49ers' favor. Number one, you've got a depleted secondary with Baltimore. You have a depleted defensive front seven with Baltimore. You have a depleted receiving core with Baltimore. You have banged up running backs. These guys are really beat up. Their only playmaker is Joe Flacco. Mm-hmm. And I'm not a big Joe Flacco guy.
Never been.
I'm not. I think that he's a good quarterback. I don't think he's great.
Is he elite?
No.
Okay.
And I don't think he can do it by himself. And the fact is you have the 49ers who are probably a little bit pissed off that they lost a game that they think they should have won. Mm-hmm. They're going to be at home. They're going to have a friendly crowd. Maybe half of them will show up. Yeah. But they'll be there. It's going to be interesting. I think the 49ers are going to win this. And I think it's going to be a lot like that Minnesota game. I think the 49ers win this one 20-10. Okay. And I think that they put it away in the third quarter. And the fourth quarter is just kind of a grind out slap fight.
Ballsy call. Okay.
So I'd say give me the 49ers 20-10 here.
Make this game more interesting for sure.
In any case, thanks so much for watching and bearing with us through what has probably been the most painful 5 games of the last few years. In any case, so I'm AJ Bellino.
I'm Diego Levatico.
And this has been Upon Further Review.
He's out.